Back to That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
And we're back. That Kevin Show from New York. Glad to have you with us. Brooke Goldstein, the executive director of the Lawfare Project and also the originator of a movement called End Jew Hatred. We're going to talk about that in a second. But Brooke, I wanted to ask you about the state of Israel right now. What is your long-term thought about where Israel is 10, 20, 50 years from now?
I hate making such long-term predictions, but I have wishes. I have, where I would like Israel to be. First of all, I've made what we call aliyah, and that means I've moved my family to Israel. We live here now. I'm in between Israel and New York because I truly believe that every Jew should experience what you said is the miracle of living in the Jewish state, which, Kevin, it's a historical anomaly. It is a true miracle in every sense of the word. We've been here now for 2 wars. A couple months after I arrived, we had 5,000 rockets being shot at us from Qatar and Iran funded, and actually USA funded terrorists too, because they have the pay for slave program with the Palestinian Authority. And I remember being here, and it was personal because now they're shooting rockets at my children. I'm just not watching this from 3,000 miles away in my apartment in New York on CNN. And I remember watching the coverage of the mainstream media, and it was so horrific that I realized I knew this before, but it really hit home. We are alone. We are alone. The Jewish people are alone, and we're making a terrible mistake. We're divided. We're divided on political, partisan lines. We're divided in terms of religious, secular, Orthodox. Look at the protests that are happening here in Israel. It's secular versus Orthodox. It's terrible. And we need to realize that if we're going to survive, and there are existential threats that face us today, just like they did 3,000 years ago, we must unify as a people. We must be empowered. And we must express our Jewish pride in a way that we are not ashamed of. And all of our actions should be directed by that. So what is my wish for Israel 10, 20 years from now? We are a unified country. We are pluralistic in the sense we have Jews of every color, every background from all over the world, but we are unified in our common ethnicity, religion, and culture, and that we are proud Jews.
Well, as an evangelical Christian, I wish that for you as well, as odd as that may sound. I'm grateful for Israel's existence. I think the whole world would be so much worse off if Israel was not exactly where it is. Let me ask you about End Jew Hatred. It's your latest project. There's a lot of energy behind it. I see a lot of stuff on social media. You guys are constantly in action. Where did it come from? And it has an edgier tone than the Lawfare Project. What's the thinking behind it?
I love the terms that you used. There's so much energy behind this movement. It's unbelievable in the sense that we launched it just over 2 years ago, and I would have never imagined how fast and quickly it's grown. And I think it just speaks to the real need for a Jewish civil rights movement. Do you know that there's never been a Jewish civil rights movement in American history? There's been a Black civil rights movement where Jews have worked. We were the lawyers. We were literally marching hand in hand, for Black civil rights. There's been Jews for gay rights, Jews for Asian rights, Jews for Muslim rights. There's never been a Jews for Jews movement. And any type of Jewish advocacy has always been tied to pro-Israel advocacy, right? And what we're saying is you don't have to take a position on Israel. In fact, you don't have to be a Zionist to have civil rights. If you're a Jewish person, you're a minority, you deserve equal protection and civil rights. And the organic growth has been tremendous. I encourage everyone to go on Instagram, check out End Jew Hatred. I have to plug my book. My book, The End Jew Hatred, A Manual for Mobilization, has just come out. It was actually #1 a couple weeks ago on Amazon. I think it was Judaic Studies. Please go pre-order the book. It is so important. I call it the rules for radicals for the Jewish community, because what we're doing at the movement is what you said. It's action. We're not talking and complaining about anti-Semitism. It's like, how many books have been written about anti-Semitism? We still don't understand it, because who can understand a normal person murdering millions of people. Nobody can understand that, right? The banality of evil. But what we're teaching is action, how to mobilize. What are the strategies and tactics and how are they organized? How are other minority rights groups organized to achieve justice for the Jewish people? Because, Kevin, this is the generation where we are going to end Jew hatred. And what I mean by that is that it will be no longer socially acceptable, and there will be real consequences for bad behavior and real systemic change.
From your lips to God's ears, and we hope and pray for the same thing in that regard. Brooke Goldstein, keep up the great work. Please come back and see us a bunch here at That Kevin Show, and thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
Got to go order the book, End Jew Hatred, and then check her out on Instagram and follow the resources. They're doing a lot, especially here in the New York area. Very, very busy around the UN and other places. Go check it out. Kevin McCullough coming right back from New York.
Ready or not, he'll be right back. That Kevin.